브라이언북클럽 팝캐스트 Korean.
안녕하세요. 오늘 여러분과 함께 살펴볼 자료는요. 유튜브 채널 브라이언북클럽 영상의 일부입니다. 제인 오스틴의 소설 오만과 편견 아시죠? 거기 나오는 다아시랑 빅리 이 두 인물을 비교하면서요. 특히 콧대 높고 드레지고 까다롭다는 표현을 가지고 아주 흥미로운 이야기가 나오더라고요. 네, 그래서 이번 분석에서는요. 이 소설 속 인물들의 성격 대비를 통해서 우리가 뭘 배울 수 있을지, 그리고 이 표현이 뭐랄까 우리 자신이나 주변 사람들 그 복합적인 성격을 이해하는데 어떻게 도움이 될 수 있을지 좀 깊이 파헤쳐보는 게 목표입니다. 자, 그럼 한번 시작해볼까요? 영상에서는 우선 오만과 편견의 한 구절을 딱 보여줘요. 다아시랑 빅리를 비교하는 부분이죠. 지적인 능력에서는 다아시가 더 뛰어났다 뭐 이렇게 나오는데, 동시에 콧대 높고 드레지고 까다로웠으며 매너는 괜찮은데 친근감을 주지는 못했다 이런 평가가 붙어요.
네네.
반면에 친구 빅리는 뭐 어딜 가나 그냥 호감을 사는 그런 인물이고요.
바로 그 대비가 사실 소설의 아주 핵심적인 갈등하고 딱 맞닿아 있는 거죠. 그러니까 다아시의 그 뛰어난 능력과는 별개로 그의 태도 있잖아요. 영어 원문으로는 haughty, reserved and fastidious 라고 표현된 그 모습, 그게 주변 사람들하고의 관계에서 계속 뭔가 마찰을 일으키는 거예요. 예를 들면 뭐 무도회 같은 데 가서 아는 사람이랑만 춤춘다거나 별로 관심을 안 보인다거나,
아, 네네.
그런 행동 방식이 이야기 전체의 긴장감을 계속 만들어 나가는 거죠. 이게 단순히 뭐 나쁜 사람이다 이런 차원이라기보다는 그 성격 자체가 관계에 미치는 영향이 아주 중요하게 다뤄지는 거예요.
오, 그 지점이 정말 흥미롭네요. 그리고 영상은 바로 그 표현, 콧대 높고 드레지고 까다롭다. 이걸 가지고 참여자들이 스스로를 좀 돌아보는 그런 토론으로 넘어가더라고요. 여기서 드레지다는 말이 나오는데 이게 사람이 가볍지 않고 좀 점잖아서 무게가 있다. 이런 긍정적인 느낌으로 설명이 돼요.
그렇죠. 단어 자체가 좀 생소할 수도 있는데 그런 뉘앙스가 있죠.
참여자들 반응도 제각각이었어요. 도리안이나 존 같은 경우는 나한테 그런 면이 좀 있는 것 같다. 이렇게 인정을 하더라고요. 도리안은 자기가 좀 경직되고 취향이 너무 확고해서 의도치 않게 남들을 불편하게 했을 수도 있겠다. 뭐 이런 얘기라고요. 존은 클럽 멤버 뽑을 때 자기가 진짜 까다로운 기준을 쓴다. 이렇게 솔직하게 말하기도 하고요.
아하.
반면에 셀리 같은 경우는 나는 그런 사람 좀 대하기 불편하다. 이런 시각도 있었고요.
네, 그런 반응도 충분히 나올 수 있죠. 근데 저는 특히 써니의 반응이 되게 생각해볼 거리를 많이 던져준다고 봤어요.
아, 써니요?
네, 처음에는 이 표현들에 대해서 좀 부정적인 느낌이다 이렇게 시작을 했는데 금방 다른 해석을 내놓는 거예요. 예를 들어서 예전에 어떤 부당한 상황이 있었는데 자신은 좀 주저했지만 브라이언이라는 사람은 아주 적극적으로 들이댔다. 이런 경험을 얘기하면서요.
네네, 기억나요.
어쩌면 그 콧대 높고 드레지고 까다로운 특성이라는 게 사실은 강한 주관이라든지 아니면 목표를 향해 나아가는 어떤 추진력, 이런 거의 다른 표현일 수도 있겠다. 이렇게 말을 하더라고요. 심지어 브라이언이 자기 사업을 시작하고 해나가는데 그런 성향이 오히려 원동력이 되지 않았을까? 뭐 이런 추측까지 하고요.
맞아요. 써니는 심지어 자기가 제일 좋아하는 영어 단어가 fastidious라고 했잖아요. 그 까다로운 꼼꼼한이라는 뜻의 단어예요. 사실 이 단어 자체도 처음 들으면 약간 부정적으로 들릴 수 있는데 이게 또 세심함이나 철저함 같은 긍정적인 의미도 같이 가지고 있는 단어니까요.
바로 그 지점이에요. 거기서 우리는 성격이라는 게 얼마나 양면적인지를 딱 보게 되는 거죠. 까다롭다는 게 존의 경우처럼 어떤 명확한 기준이나 원칙을 의미할 수도 있는 거고, 또 써니가 좋아하는 fastidious처럼 아주 세심하고 꼼꼼하다는 뜻으로 해석될 수도 있는 거고요.
그러네요.
드레지다는 건 진중함으로 볼 수 있고, 콧대 높다는 것도 그냥 오만한 게 아니라 때로는 아주 확고한 신념이나 자기 확신의 표현일 수도 있다는 거죠. 결국 중요한 건 뭐랄까, 사회적으로 좋은 평판을 얻는 것, 그러니까 빅리처럼 쉽게 호감을 사는 거랑 개인적인 강점이나 목표를 달성하는 능력, 이건 다시나 브라이언의 경우처럼요. 이 사이에서 이런 복합적인 성격들이 얼마나 다르게 작용하고 또 평가받을 수 있는가, 바로 이 점인 것 같아요.
네, 오늘 저희가 오만과 편견의 다시와 빅리 이 두 인물 비교해서 시작해서요. 콧대 높고 드레지고 까다롭다는 이 한 표현에 담긴 여러 겹의 의미를 한번 탐색해봤습니다. 단순히 소설 속 인물 분석을 넘어서 영상 참여자들의 솔직한 자기 성찰을 통해서 이런 성격 특성들이 실제 우리 삶에서 얼마나 입체적으로 나타나는지 좀 엿볼 수 있었던 것 같아요.
맞아요.
핵심은 역시 사회적인 관계 속에서의 평가랑 또 개인의 어떤 동력으로서의 가치가 다를 수 있다는 거. 그래서 단순하게 좋다, 나쁘다 이렇게 딱 잘라 말하기는 참 어려운 문제라는 거겠죠.
네, 그렇죠. 그래서 오늘 나눈 이야기와 관련해서 여러분도 한번 스스로에게 이런 질문을 던져보시면 어떨까 싶어요. 영상 속 써니는 fastidious,라는 단어에서 긍정적인 면을 찾아냈잖아요. 여러분은 자신이나 혹은 다른 사람의 좀 복잡한 면모를 설명할 때 보통 어떤 단어들을 떠올리시나요? 그리고 혹시 그 단어들을 너무 단선적으로만, 그러니까 긍정 아니면 부정, 이런 흑백 논리로만 보고 있지는 않으신가요? 어쩌면 좀 불편하게 느껴졌던 어떤 특성 안에 오늘 저희가 살펴본 것처럼 예상치 못했던 어떤 강점이라든지 다른 가치가 숨어 있을지도 모르는 거거든요. 한 번쯤은 그 가능성을 열어두고 생각해 보시는 것도 좋지 않을까, 그런 생각이 듭니다.
브라이언북클럽 팝캐스트 English.
Ever met someone and, in that first instant you felt absolutely certain you had them pegged, only for, well, time to reveal something completely different?
Oh, absolutely. It happens all the time, doesn't it? That snap judgment.
Exactly. A whole character sketched out based on almost nothing. Well, today on the deep dive, we're getting into one of literature's, frankly, most brilliant examples of exactly that. We're talking Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy from Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice.
Ah, Darcy. The classic misunderstood character, perhaps.
Definitely. And our mission today is to really unpack some key character traits and the social stuff going on in the novel. We're zooming in on one bit and three really potent words the source uses for Darcy: haughty, reserved, and fastidious.
Potent is the right word. They carry so much weight, especially in that context.
And these aren't just any old adjectives, are they? They feel very specific, very Austen, very British English.
They absolutely are. And our source material for this, it's actually a really lively YouTube discussion. Comes from a channel called Huda Oko Not. Yes, and they do a brilliant job exploring these ideas, firmly rooted in that British literary tradition. It's fascinating because it's not just about the story, is it? It's about how these specific words, these nuances in character description, really shape our understanding, especially in classic English literature.
Right. And they specifically mention page 18 of an English edition. So we have a real anchor point.
Exactly. Page 18, it gives us a fantastic starting point.
Okay, then let's unpack this. Let's start where the source does, at that infamous Meryton assembly, the dancing party.
Right, the assembly. You have to picture it, this buzzing local event. Everyone's there, sizing each other up.
And into this scene come two very important young men, Mr. Bingley and Mr. Darcy. Quite the contrast.
Oh, a massive contrast. The source puts it brilliantly. Bingley was sure of being liked wherever he appeared. He just had this easy charm, didn't he? Very affable.
Instantly likable. You can picture him smiling, chatting easily.
Exactly. And then Darcy arrives, and the description is that he was continuously given offense almost from the moment he walked in.
Continuously given offense. That's quite something. So it wasn't just one slip-up.
Apparently not. His whole demeanor just seemed to rub people the wrong way. It set up this immediate stark divide between him and the very popular Bingley.
And his actual behavior at the party? Well, that really sealed the deal, didn't it?
Yeah.
The source mentions he just did not show any interest, stood there, didn't smile much.
And crucially, he did not ask any ladies to dance.
Apart from the ones he already knew, like Bingley sisters, his friend's sisters.
Right, which in that social setting was a huge deal.
Huge. I mean, think about it. A ball was the place for introductions, especially for young women looking for, husbands. For him to just stand apart, refuse to engage.
It would have felt like a direct snub. The text says every girl in the dancing room was offended, not just mildly annoyed offended.
It's practically a declaration of social war, isn't it? His behavior was that bad.
It really was. And to really grasp why it was so bad, you need to understand those Regency social rules, especially at a local assembly like Meryton.
It wasn't just a party.
Not at all. It was a marketplace for social connections, for reputation, and yes, for marriage prospects. Gentlemen were expected to circulate, to dance, to be agreeable.
So Darcy's aloofness, his clear lack of interest.
It wasn't just seen as him being a bit shy or awkward. It was read as deliberate superiority. Like he was judging everyone there and finding them wanting.
Ah, okay. So it wasn't just impolite, it was insulting.
Terribly insulting. It branded him instantly. Arrogant, proud, unapproachable. Austen uses that scene so cleverly to fix Darcy in everyone's mind, the readers included, as this unlikable figure right from the start.
It's really effective, and it makes you think, doesn't it? How often those first impressions, like the ones flying around at Meryton, just stick.
Yeah.
How quickly we think we know someone.
Based on so little sometimes.
Which brings us rather neatly to those three words.
Yeah.
This is where, for me, it gets really interesting. The source highlights them. Haughty, reserved, and fastidious.
Yes. Powerful words. Very classic British English, as you said. They're not casual descriptions, they're quite specific.
So let's break them down like the source discussion did. What does haughty really mean here?
Well, haughty isn't just garden variety pride. The source explains it as almost high-nosed, you know?
Yeah.
Looking down on people. There's a real sense of disdainful arrogance, a belief in one's own superiority that's quite obvious to others.
Right. It's not just feeling superior, it's acting superior.
Exactly. Projecting it, making others feel small. Then there's reserved.
Which doesn't just mean quiet, does it?
No, not at all. In Austen's time, reserved suggested something deeper. The source describes it as a character that's not light, but dignified and weighty sedate. So it implies a sort of seriousness, a composure, not giving everything away easily.
So less about shyness, more about
Yeah.
gravitas, a considered approach.
Precisely. A certain weightiness, maybe even a touch solemn. And then the third word, fastidious.
Ah, this one's tricky, isn't it?
It is. Very nuanced. The source defines it as essentially fussy, particular, careful about details. But crucially, it adds that it can also mean being disapprovingly fussy, perhaps overly concerned with cleanliness or spotting tiny flaws in everything and everyone.
So it's got that double edge, meticulousness, which can be good, but also pickiness, being overly critical.
Spot on. Careful attention to detail on one hand, maybe a demanding, hard-to-please nature on the other.
And you can immediately see how these fit Darcy at that Meryton ball, can't you?
Huh?
His intellectual superiority, his well-bred but not inviting manners.
It all clicks. He seemed haughty in his disdain, reserved in his lack of engagement, and perhaps fastidious in implicitly judging the company unworthy of his notice. Austen gives us these words, and boom, we understand the negative impression he made.
They're like labels, but also explanations.
Exactly. And what's fascinating, especially with reserved, is how easily it could be misread in that setting.
Right, in a lively party, someone reserved doesn't come across as dignified, they just seem.
Aloof. Uninterested. Even contemptuous. Absolutely. It highlights how much context matters, especially in those very structured British social dynamics of the time. Subtle cues were everything. A reserved manner might be respected elsewhere, but at a ball, disaster.
Okay, so this raises a really interesting point the source discussion apparently got into. Are these traits haughty, reserved, fastidious, always negative?
Well, that's the question they chewed over. They started thinking, could there be situations where these qualities or something like them are actually strengths?
Okay, I'm intrigued. How so?
Well, take haughty. If you reframe it slightly, not as arrogance, but maybe as courage or conviction.
How do you mean?
The idea that sometimes you need to stand up for yourself or for principle, to confront power, not just roll over. The source mentioned a university example. Apparently one of the speakers, Brian, had stood up to an overbearing senior, which wasn't seen as necessarily bad. It showed spirit.
Okay, I can see that. Like having the haughty self-belief to stick to your guns when it matters. Refusing to compromise on ethics, perhaps.
Exactly. Or that haughty confidence an innovator needs to push a difficult idea forward. It's about a strong sense of self-worth, maybe, applied constructively. Then, fastidious.
Ah, the fussy one. How can that be good?
Well, think about the careful about details side, being particular in your choices. The source mentioned choosing club members carefully. That kind of discernment ensures quality, doesn't it?
True. Professionalism often requires being fastidious. You want a surgeon or an engineer to be incredibly careful about details.
Precisely. High standards, thoughtful choices, meticulous work. In many fields, being fastidious isn't just good, it's essential. It's the opposite of sloppy.
Okay, fair enough. And reserved.
Well, once you get past the potentially off-putting first impression, being reserved, that weighty, non-frivolous character often earns deeper respect, doesn't it?
I suppose so. It suggests depth. Thoughtfulness.
Maybe someone who listens more than they talk, who considers things carefully. Their words might carry more weight when they do speak. It implies a certain inner strength, perhaps, that isn't immediately on display.
It really does shift the perspective looking at them that way. Which makes you wonder, doesn't it? In our own lives today, when might a bit of haughty courage or reserved thoughtfulness or fastidious attention to detail actually be useful or even admirable?
A very good question.
And it's really telling, I think, that the source discussion apparently picked fastidious as its single best English word from this whole analysis.
It's a brilliant choice, actually, because it perfectly captures that complexity we've been talking about.
That dual meaning again.
Exactly. Careful about details, positive, high standards, meticulous, but also potentially disapprovingly fussy, picky, hard to please. It contains both the potential strength and the potential weakness in one word.
Which mirrors Darcy's own complexity quite beautifully.
It really does. He is highly principled and meticulous, but also, certainly early on, overly judgmental and critical. The word fits him like a glove.
So this raises a bigger point, doesn't it? About language itself. How choosing a really specific, nuanced word like fastidious, just, opens up so much more understanding of a character or a situation, especially in rich texts like Austen's.
Absolutely. It allows for such subtle shading, such complexity. It shows how powerful, precise vocabulary is. It doesn't just describe, it reveals. You get so much more than if Austen had just written picky or careful.
It really underlines the value of digging into the language, doesn't it? Especially with classic British literature. It just unlocks a deeper appreciation.
Definitely. Words are worlds, as you said earlier.
Well, that feels like a good place to start wrapping up our deep dive for today. We've gone from Darcy's, let's be honest, disastrous debut at the Meryton Assembly,
Quite the social car crash.
all the way to unpacking the layers of meaning in just 3 adjectives: haughty, reserved, and fastidious. It's been a real reminder of how wrong first impressions can be and how much language shapes how we see things.
Indeed. And understanding these terms, it's not just, dry literary analysis of an old book, brilliant though it is. It's really about appreciating the complexity of people, the nuances of how we communicate and perceive each other, especially within a particular cultural setting, like Regency Britain.
These words give us tools, almost, for looking a bit closer.
They do. They encourage us to look beyond the surface, both in literature and perhaps in life.
So maybe here's a final thought for you to take away. The next time you meet someone new, perhaps pause before forming that instant judgment. Could there be some dignified reserve behind that quietness, some careful discernment behind what seems like fussiness, maybe even some haughty courage beneath a prickly exterior?
It's worth considering.
Definitely. And perhaps it's even inspired you to pick up Pride and Prejudice again, or for the first time, and see Darcy and maybe everyone else through this slightly different, richer lens.